Howdy guys, it's Joe, today talking the 2.0 version of DPStanky's Lucio. Now of course I'm going to say that this is definitely my favorite Lucio to watch. Quite offensive compared to quite a bit, he tries to pull out a lot of plays. And with Lucio 2.0, I feel like, especially with his playstyle of getting in there, trying to push people off the cart, dealing damage, and overall being a lot more mobile than most other Lucios, it really does work great with this player. And overall, Lucio 2.0 has actually worked really great for Lucio. His win rate has stayed about the same and in some cases actually increased. So, I mean, if you want to pick up Lucio still, he's a really good character to pick up. Maybe a little bit harder to play now, as you kind of do have to go a bit more offensive or even, I guess, defensive, but play a little bit better as you don't have that huge range to heal people anymore. But still, I'm going to say he's pretty good at this character. And this character is pretty good now, probably even a little bit better. Anyways, with that said, the first thing that I'd like to talk about is first off, how he likes to peel his teammates, and second off, how much he switches between speed boost and healing. I feel like what a lot of people do is just continuously stay on healing forever, which is generally, it's a decent idea. But especially with Lucio's new speed boost while on the wall, accompanied with his regular speed boost, you can move way too fast for really anyone to catch you. If you just keep jumping off the walls with your regular speed boost, plus your wall speed boost, no one's really going to catch you, and you can essentially just bound around the field, unkillable, and yeah, that's really useful, and something that you should be trying to switch to as much as you possibly can. And as well with that, we can see a lot here him peeling his teammates. Earlier we saw people jumping onto his Reinhardt, and simply speed boosting, getting right next to him. The Reinhardt can run away faster, and then he walks up and boops the enemies away. You really do have to kind of think about, who you're trying to protect and who you're trying to just get away from. And overall as Lucio, you can peel more than I'd say really any other character in the game, honestly, just with a simple boot mechanic. Of course, a lot of people use it just to get kills off the cliff. But as we see right here even, he tried to do it to save his Ana. Didn't work completely, but you can still go for it and try to give them a few extra seconds to live, a few extra seconds to get next to their tanks. Unfortunately, right there, all their tanks are already dead, so it's kind of unfortunate for him, but whatever, worked pretty well. And as we see right here, even a dive-ish comp works pretty well on defense with Lucio. We see a Genji and we see a Winston, and then we see Lucio. Personally, I love Winston and Genji. I feel like that's a great comp, and if you have a Lucio to add on to it, you're making it even better. Even if you aren't the best Lucio, if you just happen to listen to those two people saying, let's go in right here, you speed boost them in, and then you start booping people to great positioning where you can essentially just kill them really quickly, and then going on from there, you can do pretty well. Right here we see a Winston chasing this Lucio all the way out here. I guess he could have gone away through that door, maybe. I don't really know. There wasn't much he could have done, but he did at least get an entire Winston ult by himself, and the enemy's got a pretty long push from there. But they're still on the second point and doing pretty well. As you see right there, you can ult before you get out of doors. Makes you a little bit more safe so that even if you got headshotted, as someone like a Widowmaker was trying to go for you, you wouldn't immediately die. And your ultimate, it actually does the ult off of when you hit the ground, and a few seconds later it still applies, maybe like half a second later. So you can be a little bit more safe by waiting half a second. So do maybe remember that. Of course, right here, switching to speed boost, no reason to really not do that. And of course, it's Lucio with his brand new damage, I think an extra 10 per shot. If you get headshots, that's an extra 20 per shot. And of course, you can get into the enemy back line a decent amount now and actually burst through them. But on defense, that's not always the best idea. You want to be a little bit more safe. And we see right here, he's just jumping all around, healing people, getting some nice positioning to get a little bit of damage out. You do want to do that. You have essentially no damage fall off, and you have a lot of poke damage that you can pull out. And mainly, you want to get that so that you can charge your ultimate while you're already charging it with your heals. There's no reason to really not do that, so yeah. Alright, here we see a Winston. We're going instead after the Genji though, but we can again go backwards towards the Winston and try to push him a little bit away if needs be. We got a really nice Reinhardt ult right there. Con would buy a really nice Roadhog ult, so you didn't really have to do that way too much. But if people are diving your tanks and are just womping straight through them, such as a Roadhog that keeps running straight to your Winston, or such as a Reaper, or such as even a Soldier, I guess, as they sometimes do that, you can easily protect them. Lucio on defense, think about how they can get really clutch engages on defense, make their team win that way, and that can happen quite often, but we see a lot more just protecting your team, saving your team, as we saw right there, at least trying to, and then of course going back, healing, and then dealing a lot of damage as you're doing all of this. Again, there's no reason to really not just hold your damage button through the entire game essentially, so just do that, get your ultimate faster, and go on from there. As what we see right here, something that's really nice is that as Lucio, you can protect like 3 to 4 of your teammates. While most supports can only focus on one, you can bounce around, speed boost around, and while you might not be able to fully top off people that easily, you can often keep them at least a fourth health or half health or something like that so that you can protect them for a decent amount of time. Alright, here we see a little bit of jank. I think that he booped him away, or at least he was trying to boop that Genji away, giving his soldier a little bit of space, and right here they're just finally trying to push it as much as they possibly can. The enemy does have a pretty good engage here though. They already have a kill down. The Hanzo got a really nice shot, and now Lucio is just trying to get as much time as he possibly can get. You know, it's a good idea with this character. You can stall for a huge amount of time on him, and you want to most likely be in speed boost while you're running around the point. And of course, taxi people back onto the point. But, you know, healing works pretty well too, especially with his new boost when he's just on the wall. The new speed is really, really great to heal and then amp it up and heal yourself while you're moving around really fast. If there's a pillar or anything like that, I'd actually say it might be a better idea to go healing on yourself rather than speed boost while trying to stall for time. But it really kind of depends on how well the other people are at aiming, because if they're not the best at aiming, or if they're playing characters that can't aim the best or can't move around the best, speed boost might be a little bit better in that situation. Alright, here again, I'm pretty sure we have a Winston and a Genji. It wouldn't really make sense for them to switch, as they're a lot better on offense generally than defense. And even Lucio's, he's good on both, obviously, but he's sometimes better on offense. I don't know. He's really good on both. But right here we see something, you know, just pretty general stuff. Walking around the side. What he could try to do is jump up there and boot people off, but that's really, really unsafe right here. And what's probably a little bit better is to just push the cart, heal people that get next to the cart, and then, there we go, boop someone a little bit away to just protect his teammates. But yeah, maybe not always go 100% melee range next to people. When you do see people like supports by themselves, you can happen to go after them and you can happen to kill them. And we see an actual tracer instead of a Genji, so I guess they switched off that way, which, you know, can just depend on what team comp you want. Or maybe we have, okay, we have a Genji and a tracer. There we go. Couldn't see that earlier. But yeah, we see a pretty nice push comp right here, and essentially all they have to do now is wait until they get a pick, or just wait until one of the enemy is out of position, or even wait until they're just, I don't know, there's just some decent positioning for your team, or the enemies just happen to get very close to you, and then just boost straight in there, go after the supports first, then you go after somebody like the soldier, and then just continue from there. Or guess if the soldier's way up in the front and he's very easy to kill, you can boop him towards your team and kill him really fast. I'd say generally when you're in these team fights, if you can just kind of boop people towards you and away from you, and right there we saw save with this boop again. You can really see how well he uses this, not just trying to, you know, get people off the cliff, but really doing everything, I'm gonna say. Alright, here's protecting his other support back in the back line, getting it away from the Mei. Got a kill on Mei right there, so yeah, you can just get a lot of damage as this guy. And you see how he didn't even really have to push way too far up, but he could still give his teammates that speed boost from pretty far back, and that heal boost from pretty far back. Maybe not as far back as it used to be, but still a decent distance. So yeah, that's pretty nice, I'm going to say, from that. They're just going to continue pushing up right here, though, and get a nice pick on that person. Unfortunately, though, the soldier does have high ground, so it's a little bit hard. Or not the soldier, somebody else has high ground, but they do have his Zenyatta ult, they have his soldier ult, they have an Ana ult. The whole enemy team's doing really good right here. And of course, Lucio's playing smart, trying to run around, trying to give his Reinhardt as much damage and as much room as he can possibly give him. But he's unfortunately by himself. Everybody on his team died, so there wasn't way too much he could have done. I guess he could have disengaged, but it was probably a better idea to try to heal people up, get a little bit more of his ultimate up, and then, you know, get a little bit more damage up to get his ultimate, instead of just waiting back at spawn for everyone. Right here, he could try to Texas some people, maybe go back for that Tracer, but since Tracer can move so fast anyways, doesn't really matter way too much, let's be honest. Right here, though, is the time that I'd like to talk about. It's when you get stuck on a point. Especially when you're using a comp like this, which is a dive comp. A lot of the times you expect you can just jump straight in there and win. And while that does happen quite often, sometimes it's just not going to work. The enemies are just going to pick you off before you can pick them off. And their long range comp might just get a few kills. It might just be kind of hard. And you might just happen to lose a few engages. With that said, you shouldn't always just immediately switch just because 1 or 2 engages didn't work. Often your positioning maybe was a little bit off, maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that could have been wrong. But what you can do in the next engage is fix that up, or maybe you just don't simply have enough ultimates and they have way too many. So you can wait until they have less ultimates, wait until you have more, and then go in again. I feel like a lot of people kind of underestimate how many tries sometimes it takes to get a dive comp to work, especially in solo queue or in duo queue or whatever queue you're playing. So you might just want to wait a little bit. Alright, there we saw the monkey go in essentially by himself because 2 other people were dead, hoping to get a few kills, and the Lucio obviously sees this is not going to work at all. Tries to get back, unfortunately gets picked up by the McCree. And again, there's 3 different engages, I'm pretty sure, that didn't work. But with that said, now they just have to wait. They have a lot of ultimates up, they're ready to go in on the next fight. And, of course, they have a huge amount of engage that they can get now. The last few fights, they haven't really gone in completely as a team, but this fight, they're really getting ready to do that. And we see right here, Lucio's right up in the front, giving people speed, even though he might not have his speed boost up. There we go. Now we actually see that speed boost. We see that amp it up. We see that ultimate going out, so now his team should not really die for the first few seconds. He gets unfortunately ulted, solo ulted, by that McCree, so that kind of sucked. But, they're still going in, trying to push, and we see, again, another push that just didn't happen to work. Which, is kind of disappointing. You're always thinking that you're going to get that push. That looked like the perfect push. But think about this. We used all of our ultimates, but so did they. So, if we just push again, and we changed to a McCree, I think. But yeah, if we just push again, maybe with a little bit more far range, we can probably take them out this time. If they've been winning a lot of their team fights with their ultimates, which they have, and now they don't have their ultimates, and you don't have your ultimates, it should be a pretty equal fight with no ults, and it should probably go your way this time. And we see that exact thing happen. We get a really nice pick right here by the Tracer player. Now they can essentially just jump in, have people follow this Lucio. The Lucio, of course, goes straight in the backline right after that Zenyatta with his Winston. As Lucio, you do probably want to stay with your Winston. Again, gets picked off, unfortunately, by an ultimate. But by the time that already happened, he already got a kill, he already speed boosted everybody in, and they already had a kill before that, so they were up quite a few people. So even though he wasn't specifically there at the end, he did get a lot of pressure out, he got a few kills out, and he got all those people in the positioning that they needed to be. So essentially, his work was already done. And I'd say that's all you really have to do is Lucio. A lot of people think that you have to get a ton of kills as this guy to carry. You have to get a ton of just everything as this guy to carry. But honestly, you can play pretty offensive, but not have to die over and over again. And sometimes you might get unlucky in team fights, as we saw right here. But even if that is so, you can still do really, really well with the character. And as seen by this guy, you can carry a lot of games. And I've seen a lot of Lucios actually carry a ton of games. So there you go with this character. I feel like it's really good. And Lucio 2.0, in my opinion, I think is even better than Lucio 1.0. But maybe that's just me because I really like how different and how offensive and how fast he is now. Anyways, with all that said, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.